Assalamu alaikum and good evening to another episode of the Omar Quraishi View. And here today we're going to talk about a very important topic that's been going on and on the minds of many people in Pakistan, in India, and in fact around the world, which is the fallout and the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack in Indian occupied Kashmir, which killed 26 tourists. Good question, because India hasn't provided any evidence so far other than the fact that they keep saying, government representatives of India, the Indian journalists keep saying in interviews, even where they've of Pakistani journalists, where they say that, what is Pakistan's response to the evidence? And then the counter question is that, but where is the evidence? Just simply saying what the Indian government said within a few hours of the attack was, and the Indian media started parroting it immediately, was that the Indian view was that they said, we've traced digital signatures of some of the attackers to cities in Pakistan. But simply saying that is not enough. You have to present the evidence, and it's not been presented so far. And I was reading a report recently, in fact, which said that Western diplomats based in India have also said, have expressed skepticism, because they said so far they've not been presented with any evidence. And also this is borne out by the fact and how America is acting. America, we know, the Trump administration is quite friendly with the Modi government, or so the Modi government thought. But in any case, the two public reactions that have come from America, the first was from President Trump, a few days ago, when he was quoted, when he was asked on Air Force One, and he said he didn't single out Pakistan, he didn't blame Pakistan for anything. All he said was that I'm very close to India and I'm also very close to Pakistan. And he said something along the lines that they will both figure it out. He even said, and these things went viral, that India and Pakistan have been neighbors for over 1,000 years, have been fighting over Kashmir for over 1,000 years, which went viral. Obviously, it was a bit funny too, because there was no Pakistan before 75 years. But I think what he was trying to say was that he expects India and Pakistan to sort it out. This was followed by his Secretary of State, the US Secretary of State, who a couple of days ago on April 29th called up the Indian Foreign Minister and the Pakistan Prime Minister. And he told them both the same thing, that they needed to work with each other, talk to each other directly, communicate with each other directly, and de-escalate. So obviously, I don't think anybody believes that India has any evidence of Pakistan's involvement in the attacks. And unfortunately, what they're also not doing is they're not asking the questions that need to be asked. The basic question is that the attack took place around 200 kilometers from the line of control, 100 kilometers east of Srinagar, away from AJK. If the attackers, for the sake of argument, infiltrated from across the LOC, which is 200 kilometers away, how did they reach this spot? And the spot is reachable only by foot or by horseback. Indian occupied Kashmir has hundreds of thousands of soldiers. How come nobody detected these armed assailants reaching that spot? A. B. What were the Indian intelligence agencies, which are also obviously very active in Indian occupied Kashmir, what were they doing? Why didn't they preempt this? Why didn't they take note of this? In fact, just a few months ago, the Indian government, including the PM, the Indian Home Minister and the Indian Defence Minister, had all said, especially Mr. Modi, that tourism has returned to Jammu and Kashmir and jobs are being created and it's all fine now. But clearly it's not. So they've got basically egg on the face. And the other question that relates to that, why isn't the Indian media asking these questions, is unfortunately that the Indian media, the whole world, I'm not saying it because I'm from the other side of the border, but the Indian media to a great extent is compromised by the BJP government, and because of the corporate interests that are in the media. That can happen anywhere, but I think in India's case, it's very overt and very clear. Especially as we know, the Mr. Adani, who is very close to Mr. Modi, who took over NDTV, which was seen as one of the few independent voices in Indian media, and now it's not independent anymore. And its previous head, Mr. Ravish Kumar, has an alternative YouTube channel, which has more viewership than the channel itself. We've also seen Mr. Arnab Goswami, who's now kind of like a household name in Pakistan because of his outlandish and what he does on his show. He invites Pakistanis and screams at them and doesn't let them talk. But the point is that it is very difficult to expect this media to ask questions of the BJP government, because a lot of the anchors have benefited directly from it, or the corporate owners have. And that will only change if you see pressure within India from Indian citizens and politicians that these questions should be asked. And we're seeing that happen, especially on social media and YouTube. As for Indian politicians, I think Rahul Gandhi did speak about it initially, but that has been muted, and he's probably one of the few voices who's talking about it so far. But like I said, we have seen on YouTube and social media Indian citizens talking about it, and even the families of the victims and this young son of one of the victims was saying that where was the police, where were the agencies, why isn't anybody talking about that, why aren't they being questioned? So it's much easier to just blame Pakistan than to ask these questions. Yes, again a good question. Pakistan, in today's newspapers, we've seen a lot of measures that Pakistan has taken, especially in AJK. Pakistan has to be prepared for any eventuality, although it's obviously clearly not of its own making. Having said that, the question whether India will attack or not, or what kind of retaliation it will do, quote unquote retaliation to its imagined involvement of Pakistan in the attack, the answer will have to come from the Indian government. They are best equipped to answer that question. But let's remind ourselves that I've seen Indian politicians, I've seen BJP politicians, I've seen some Indian anchors say nonsensical, completely irresponsible things on their TV channels, saying that let's annihilate Pakistan, let's annihilate Karachi, Rawalpindi, etc. What world are they living in? India and Pakistan are both nuclear armed. You cannot have a war between two nuclear armed countries and expect things not to get out of control. If India thinks that it's going to do a limited foray into AJK, like it did with the quote unquote Balakot bombing, where we saw crows being bombed and killed, or there was another operation where they crossed the LOC, killed Pakistani soldiers and went back and nobody noticed. There was never any proof presented of this. This happened a few years ago. If they think that they were going to do that kind of foray, I don't know. But to have an actual military engagement with another country, with a neighboring country, and where both of you have nuclear weapons and expect it not to escalate is very, very dangerous. And I have a feeling that the Indian army knows that, because obviously the Indian army would know the Pakistan army's capabilities and vice versa. Maybe the Indian politicians are playing to the domestic audience. Within a few hours of the attack happening, they made Pakistan the guilty party. They might have pigeonholed themselves into a corner where they feel that they are obligated to attack. I hope better sense prevails, or at the most we might see some kind of limited foray in some part of AJK. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Hopefully within the next week we will see some better news coming out from India and Pakistan and South Asia in general. See you then. Khuda Hafiz.